Shakespeare was right. The world is a stage and we are all actors. We all act out what is hidden in the depths of our soul. Now, our readings today tell us of two scripts. Anger that leads to an unforgiving life, and blessing that leads to a forgiving life. What is your act in your play? The one you're playing out, day in and day out. Now, in the gospel, Jesus creates a play here through a parable. And we see that anger is on central stage. There is a man who cannot pay his debts. He is in real deep debt. I am told that a talent is like 30 ounces of gold. Multiply that 10,000 times, you do the arithmetic. It is into the millions of dollars. How in the world did this guy get so far in debt? Well, let me say something here. This man is every one of us. All of us are in deep debt. Yes, this man is us. How can I say this? I mean, you would probably say, I don't do bad things. How can I be all that bad of debt? But every one of us is made in the image of God. And God has his right to high expectations. Let me repeat that. God has a right to high expectations for each of us. Now, our standard is the perfection of Jesus himself. It is a joy to think of the perfections of Christ. Did you ever sit back and just sort of think about the perfections of Jesus? He was perfectly selfless at all times. He was perfectly united to his Father's will every day, day in and day out. He was always loving. He was fearless, pure in thought and deed, and you can go on and on and on and on. What a meditation, the perfections of Christ. Now, if we spend some time doing that, then we also cannot help but spend some time reflecting on our imperfections, right? We need to learn how to sit on them. That means maybe get a chair in a quiet room every day and just spend a few minutes thinking, how did I blow it today? And really become aware of it. I think maybe that's the reason why we spend so much time in our gadgets, just so we will keep away from doing that. But if you do that, then you lose out on one of the greatest beauties. Let me first, before I get into that, let me say that pride is not being able to see our imperfection. In our play here, the king settles accounts. The servant is exposed, and he cries out for mercy, and God grants it. He doesn't say, okay, I'll let you pay it back. No, what does he say? He said, he forgives it all. Can you imagine? Millions and millions of dollars. Millions and millions of infraction. The Father says, hey, I forgive it all. Isn't it a sweet place in grace to sit? Knowing what you do not do or do, your imperfections, and at the same time saying, wow, it's all forgiven. Wow, that sweet place of grace. Well, of course, the surprises of the parable or the play is this. His fellow servant owes him 100 denarii. Now, that's a denarii is just one day's labor, so it's very little in comparison. And what does he do? He flies off the handle and grabs the guy by the neck and starts to choke him. Now, why would this man be choking this guy? Comes from a bad place. Unresolved anger. He acts out what is hidden within him. Pride. Anger destroys both us and everyone around us. That is why God hates it so much. Who do you have by the throat? Anger is a symptom of something deeper. It's acting out the twin vices of pride and fear. I have so many examples from my own life, but I thought I'd just bring this one out, okay? I do not play games, okay? But I got roped into a Monopoly game about 10 years ago on vacation, and we were sitting around the table, and I've never won Monopoly in my whole life, okay? But in this game, as it got started, I was winning. I had all sorts of properties. And I was thinking, oh, this could be my time. But you know something? I started feeling bad for my 13-year-old daughter. That was a mistake. After a while, I realized that no one was landing on my property. I mean, what are the chances? I own so much. And then I started feeling uncomfortable. And then I started landing on other people's properties. I started losing money, and I started losing my properties, and I was starting to really lose it. My eyes were turning red. I was growing fangs. And I was just crazy with rage. And my daughter was saying, oh, Daddy, I'll lose. You know, I was saying I'll never play this game again. I'll lose. I want you to play more, you know. And, well, I never played another Monopoly game in my life. Probably never will. I can tell you a bunch of other stories. You know, it's rage. Isn't it ugly? Isn't it ugly when you see it in someone else? And it's really ugly when you see it in yourself, too. Just ugly, isn't it? You know, and many act out their whole lives in anger and rage. These words from Sirach are very powerful. Anger and wrath, these also are abominations. They're not pretty because they're abominable. And the sinful man will possess them. Actually, the word there clings to it, hugs it. Do you know people who hug on to anger? It becomes part of them. Road rage. How do you do with that? Well, some of us older people remember an actor named Jack Nicholson. Maybe you millennials don't know who this person is, but he's a famous actor, plays a lot of crazy parts in movies. But back in 1994, someone cut him off. And it just happened to stop at the stoplight in front of him. He went back into his car, pulled out a golf club, and went after him. Now, if I was the guy in the car in front of him, and I saw Jack Nicholson coming at me with a golf club, and seeing the movies he's in, I'd say, oh my goodness, this movie's I'm part of a movie. He bashed in his back, window of his car. Well, all this Acting. He's an actor. But we all are, aren't we? We're acting out what is within. Comes from pride, which means I deserve better than this. When things don't go my way, I get angry, right? Or fear, when you're not in control. That is when you really can get angry too. Fear. And both of these things give birth to an unforgiving heart. Do you know what you're doing when you don't forgive somebody? It gives you a false sense of control. I am not going to forgive this person. It's like you have something hanging over that person. And it gives you a wicked sense of delight. We all act out what is hidden within. What's your act? Now the cure is found to us in this wonderful psalm we have in Psalm 103. Bless the Lord, O my soul, and all that is within me. Bless his holy name. Bless the Lord, O my soul, and forget not all his benefits, who forgives all your iniquity, who heals all your diseases, who redeems your life from the pit, who crowns you with mercy and compassion, who satisfies you with good as long as you live, so that your youth is renewed like an eagle. Do you know what the psalmist is doing right here? He is in worship. Worship is a very good place for your soul. Bless the Lord. Blessing is a creation motif. Did you know that at creation, God created everything, but nothing ever worked until he gave it a blessing? We all need blessings. And when we're blessed, what do? We return the blessings back to God, as in this psalm. Blessing is responding to what God has done to us. And praise is union with God. And when you're at that moment, you are living immortally. You're embracing the joys of God. What are the joys of God? Forgiveness, healing, redemption, mercy, worship is the opening the doors of our interior chambers and letting the light of God in. Kneel before Jesus. Ask him to fill you with blessings rather than cursing. Are you tired of your act? Well, you know something? We ask God, he can change your script. He's really good in changing our life script. He can change your script from anger to joy and blessing. He can do this if you ask.